Good morning and welcome to Life in Spain Unfiltered. I'd hoped to do my broadcast from outside today, but as I set up, my neighbours, who are holidaymakers, have turned up with a screaming baby, so you will have to put up with me in my usual spot. And if you do hear the cries of a baby in the background, be assured that's not coming from my house, that's my neighbours enjoying what seems to be not so peaceful holiday. Right, now talking of holidays, I thought I'd talk to you today about Malaga Airport and the plans maybe to expand that airport and also Gibraltar Airport. Now, as everybody will know here, tourism in Spain is going through the roof, and it's now predicted that Spain, despite what some UK newspapers are saying about it being quieter this year, it's predicted that Spain in this year will overtake France as the most visited destination in the world. Malaga Airport itself is the fourth busiest airport in Spain, behind Madrid and Barcelona, which handle a lot more international flights and are a lot bigger. But it's still in fourth place behind Palma de Mallorca, which I found quite shocking because Malaga Airport is one busy place. When I arrived here in 2002, it was a lot smaller than it is now and only consisted of what is now known as the old terminal. And It's went for a huge transformation in the early noughties and almost doubled in size. To me, Malaga Airport is a wonderfully well-run airport, and you get there and the security check goes pretty quick. It's a large place. There's plenty of space. It has a large area where you can spread out, and in general, I have very few problems there up until recently. Now, these recent problems wouldn't be a reflection on Malaga Airport itself, more the volume of traffic it's now receiving. I read somewhere recently that in June they had a record number of flights coming into Malaga Airport with over 600 a day, which will translate to maybe this year in the region of 25 million visitors passing through that airport going to and from Malaga. Now, can this airport cope with that? Now, I have some advice for anybody who's travelling to Malaga Airport or mainly leaving from Malaga Airport, because I've travelled to the UK a few times recently. And because of the issues now with having to present your passport and the volume of British tourists there, these passport queues can be quite large. Back in the day, you could literally arrive with your hand luggage, walk through security, so literally an hour before your flight, and have no problem getting to the gate and still have time to sit down and have a cup of coffee. But these days, it's a very different beast, especially in July and August. So I arrived only recently, mid-July, to go to London, and I arrived 2 hours before my flight, only with hand luggage, walked through the security check, which is quite quick and efficient as always, to be confronted with a queue for the passport that had already gone down close to some of the food concessions in the middle of the airport. So straight away, rather than my usual routine of buying my bottle of water or doing what I usually do, I joined that queue straight away, and it took me almost 40 minutes to get through passport control. So thank goodness I arrived 2 hours before rather than the hour or hour and 15 minutes I sometimes do when I have hand luggage. Now, this is set to change because you can see when you go to Malaga Airport, they already have these electronic barriers set up, and hopefully they'll start using those. But with an airport that's got so much traffic in it, they are now looking to expand it, and they're talking about expanding it up to twice the size. This, of course, would be good for the local economy and once again create lots more jobs. But one of the issues of this is tourism here is a huge talking point at the moment with over-tourism. So by expanding Malaga Airport, is that's going to bring more tourism in and increase the problems that people are already suffering from here anyhow, with the housing crisis and the cost of living. We've talked about it, or I've talked about it on various videos in the past, that people here are suffering with the increases of prices and especially rents and supermarkets here, as the tourists do tend to take over, and they are taking over more and more. Now, one of the more interesting plans to solve this problem, and I think it's actually a very good one, is the expansion of Gibraltar Airport. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever flown into Gibraltar Airport, but it's considered one of the most dangerous airports in the world. When I say dangerous, I imagine it's scary when it flies in, because you literally fly in and it seems like you're going to hit the Rock of Gibraltar. The airport is situated right next to it on a small strip, and it's quite a short runway. If I remember rightly, when Tiger Woods flew in for, I think it was a Ryder Cup or some major tournament here, he said it was the most scariest landing he'd ever experienced. Now ranked at the 5th in the most scariest or dangerous airports in the world, but still a long way behind the one in Nepal, which is an absolute nightmare, and I hope I never have to fly into that particular one. Now happening is, because of this new agreement with the border there, they're now talking about, or the Spanish are now talking about, expanding the airport on their side. Now, this would make sense because Gibraltar is not that far away from places like Marbella. Say, if you travel from Malaga to Marbella, where there is no train, you're talking probably about a 50 to an hour car journey, whereas Gibraltar to Marbella is probably like an hour 15. So there isn't much difference. And I would imagine with the traffic from Gibraltar to Marbella, it would probably be much the same, because that road this time of year between Malaga and Marbella is quite the racetrack, to say the least. This to me does seem like a great idea and would take the strain off Malaga Airport somewhat, spreading it out. If that is to happen or not will be a different matter, because Gibraltar and Spain, even though relations are a lot better these days, it still would raise a lot of issues, especially with passport control and where people would go to when they arrived. Would you need two arrival platforms? Would you need two arrival points? Would you need two passport controls? Loads and loads of different issues to bring up around thing. What's interesting about, if you want to travel into Gibraltar, you sometimes have to stop and wait for planes to land. A lot of the time, this is more kind of like Air Force type, Army type planes, or Air Force type planes, rather than domestic flights. But it can cause quite a delay with the traffic, and it's very similar to say a rail crossing in the UK or any part of the world. Now, they have built a tunnel there, which does take you underneath the airport, but I had to confess, I never seen that tunnel. I didn't know where it is. When I usually go to Gibraltar, I will usually park up on the Spanish side and walk across, and then usually get a taxi or a bus service to go where I need to go. Not that I go to Gibraltar that much. So this will be an interesting development here. There's a lot of land around the Gibraltar area, El Campo de Gibraltar, as it's called in Spanish, which is in desperate need of some sort of work being done on it. And maybe an airport there would not only solve the strain of Malaga Airport, but also help the local town there of La Linea with its local economy, because La Linea is one of the poorer areas in Andalusia and unfortunately has the reputation for making money off tobacco coming in from Gibraltar, even though that now is less profitable exercise since the new duties were put onto the tobacco, but also connected a lot to the drug trafficking coming over from North Africa. Now, if you could build an airport there, it would make huge amounts of difference and create huge amounts of jobs, which will then hopefully give that local town a little boost it needs, because it has the potential there to be the most wonderful place. It is kind of like a bit run down. It reminds you of kind of like almost like a spaghetti western town at times when you drive through it. And I know people who live in Gibraltar, and they say they sometimes want to leave Gibraltar to go into Spain or go for a meal or something like that, and they will just pass straight through La Linea and go to places like Soto Grande. Now, I've always found this quite sad, because it does have the potential there to be a lovely place. There's no reason that a little bit of investment wouldn't give that town the kick it needed and allow its growth. Okay, so that's the state of the airports here. If you're going to turn up for Malaga Airport at this time of year, be aware to get there early, because it is, I wouldn't say the point of collapse, but there are aspects of it that are suffering at the moment, especially the passport control queues. Right, I bid you all a good day. Remember to put your sun cream on if you're going outside, and I will speak to you soon. Take care.